All right, guys, this is top secret information, so don't go tell your mom about this, okay? I figured out the secret to get your offer accepted in any market, no matter what the competition is. You will win the offer if you say the following things. Hey, seller, we'll give you $100,000 over price and we'll give it to you cash. Say those words and you got the house.
You need to leave.
Right now in this market, things feel hopeless. You're looking to buy a house and you just keep getting beat out, or maybe you'll find yourself looking on real estate YouTube and everything is doom and gloom and the market's crashing. There are still everyday people just like you that are buying homes right now. And guess what? They're not waiving their appraisal. They're not making cash offers. There is some real practical ways you can get your offer accepted. So today's video, I got me and two of my friends. You guys might know them. There's of course the handsome scooter Kyle and Jeb Smith. Every time I see his name, I just want to say, my name is Jeb. I don't know.
My name is Jeb.
Sorry, that's a terrible joke. But come on, you seriously, am I the only one? Am I the only one that thinks that? So in today's video, I'm going to give you guys some practical tips you can take to whatever city and state you're in to help you get your offer accepted. And of course, my two friends gave their best advice that they recommend to you guys in this market, which I'll definitely put in this video for you. So let's get started. There is just simply some must-haves in this market. And if you are in a situation where you don't have these must-haves, and you decide to enter the market, it's gonna feel really hopeless for you. In this specific market we're in, you have to be able to pay your down payment and pay your closing costs. In this market, it's really rare for sellers to pay your closing costs for you. Now, of course, there's gonna be people out there that say, well, I got my seller to pay closing costs. Good for you. For everyone else, you have to at least plan to pay your down payment and closing costs. Now, if whether you want to go down payment assistance or you want to go with saving your own money or using your family or friends' money to help you, whatever the case may be, whatever opportunity you might have, do what you want, but you have to be in a position where you have to pay that. Yes, you can get incredibly lucky and find a situation where you can get the seller to pay your closing costs. I'm not saying that's not possible, but you have to at least acknowledge that's where you are. The second thing you have to acknowledge is right now conventional is king. Sure, you can say cash is king, but the seller will always go conventional over VA, FHA, USDA. If you're wondering why, I made a video that you can watch later about this where I really go into detail why. But fact of the matter is, that's just the case. So that being said, if you have these must-haves, right, you have hopefully conventional financing and you can at least afford your down payment and closing costs either through your self savings or the grant program, you're ready to start looking. Here's my first piece of advice for you. You want to make sure you have a very good sense of what your identity is. Now, I don't mean identity like, what's your inner, animal and, embracing it. Let me give you some examples. Are you a buyer who has an extra $5,000 or $10,000 in the bank to play around to see if you can maybe do some kind of partial waiver or something to play with the seller? Are you the type of buyer who has a lot of money saved in the bank that you have the ability to waive your appraisal and do things like that? Or are you a buyer that has no extra savings whatsoever and you're barely getting down payment and closing costs and you're not going to be able to come up with any cash out of pocket? Whatever the case may be, this is up to you to decide. What route are you in? And be honest with yourself, okay? Once you've determined what your identity is as a home buyer, you have to face the facts here. The biggest problems I see, or the biggest tension that I feel with people, is when their identity doesn't match the homes they're looking at. There's like some kind of not harmony there. What's the opposite of harmony? Chaos occurring between both sides. If you're a buyer who doesn't have that extra funds to throw at the seller, that doesn't mean that you're bad. It just means you shouldn't be looking at completely remodeled houses, because those are the kind of houses that produce high offers that people waive appraisals and pay cash for. And you could be making offers on these houses all day long. The fact of the matter is, it's unless you get really extremely lucky, you're going to have a really hard time getting under contract. One of my Discord mods, Money, who's actually a past client, said this in the previous live stream, and I think it summarized it perfectly. In this market, you either need to have more money or lower your expectations. So yeah, there's still a lot of people out there that are getting into homes and not having to fork all this extra money, but their expectations are lowered. So maybe they have to buy a house with some kind of repairs needed, or maybe some fixer-upper, or maybe they're in a different area than they thought, etc. But the point is you adjust accordingly. So what I recommend, if you don't have that much extra money to throw at the seller, which whether you agree or disagree is the reality of today's market, then don't go look at the super remodeled houses that are in pristine condition. Let's go for the houses that maybe need a little work. There's opportunity out there, but you have to be looking at the right areas. You know, if we're panning for gold, we're not panning for where everyone else is looking. We're gonna go to that river that maybe was overlooked, and we're gonna see if we find some gold there. Some people like to bring up the letter thing. Hey, if I write a letter to the seller, will it work? Well, this is where you have to be careful, because there's something called the Fair Housing Act. That means that someone cannot discriminate on someone's gender, color, race, age, all these other kind of things that you cannot discriminate somebody at. So if you write a letter and you have a picture and you have very specific details about you and your family, and the seller rejects it, then there could be a potential fair housing violation here, where maybe you won't get in trouble, but the realtors involved might get themselves in deep trouble. Now, I haven't heard of this happening yet, but you're leaving those threads open. So I would say this: only write a letter if something in the house spoke to you. So if you're looking at a house and it's just a fix and flipper remodeled person that just put the cheapest tile and cheapest paint, and you write them a beautiful love poem and a sonnet and sing a mariachi to them, you know, all this beautiful letter, that investor is gonna like put that aside and look at the number, bottom line. They're not gonna care. The best times I've seen that it actually does help is when there's a personal connection associated with the house. For example, I was representing a seller, a really good friend of mine earlier this year. She had a really hot property, Phoenix area, like really hot property. The person that won it was a first-time home buyer, FHA buyer. And how did they win it? When they were looking at the house, they saw that my seller had some Harry Potter books out there. And the buyer happened to be a huge Harry Potter fan, wrote a letter about, you know, how they loved the house, et cetera, and that they noticed they had Harry Potter and they loved Harry Potter too, My seller started crying because she said, I had a dream about this, that somehow those books were going to help. So whatever the case may be, whether it's true or not true, dream or no dream, sellers leave out these things because they're trying to at least have some kind of, you know, expression in these houses. And if there's something you pick up on as you're looking at the house, make a letter about that. Now be careful. Don't be like if it's me writing a letter, I'm not gonna be like, hi, my name's Javier. I'm a male. I'm Hispanic. I'm 27 years old. I have 2 kids. You know, you have to be careful here. Just be like, hey, you know, I saw your property. My name is this. We love the property. What I really love about your property is this. This is what I plan on doing with the property. This is why I loved it so much. I saw that you did this. That's so beautiful. We really hope we can make this work. This market's been difficult for us. You don't have to go into details about yourself, nor include a photo. As much as you want to include a photo, you're opening yourself up to a potential problem. So only write the letter when it makes sense. I had a buyer that was like, can I write a letter with this one? I don't know. Did you have a connection with the house? You know, it's not gonna be something that works 100% of the time. It'll work very, very few percentage of the time, only if the circumstances are correct. Other than that, it's really just making a solid offer. When you write the offer, make sure it's typed out. Make sure it looks professional. Make sure that your agent's calling the other agent to present, you know, just like, hey, what's going on? My name is X. I just sent you over an offer. My buyer's name is this. We've been looking for the last month or two. This is why we haven't been able to get a house. They're super solid buyers. They're this, they're that. They're willing to do this. They're willing to do that. All kinds of things. Just give them the gist. You know, it's so crazy how out of the 20 offers people might get, maybe 1 or 2 of them will call. Everyone just sends an offer and prays. They don't bother calling the listing agent, because guess what? The listing agent is probably just as overwhelmed as you are. So calling and saying, hey, how's it going? Hey, man, it's a freaking crazy market, huh? And just kind of going off by what they're saying. 2 tactical things that I'll tell you about. It's up to you to see what you decide. A lot of times the seller's concern is, or are these people going to nickel and dime us for the inspection stuff? Like they're going to want a bunch of boogers fixed, boogers off the wall, outlets fixed, and all kinds of little tiny crap they don't want to deal with. I've been putting a clause in the contract, and please talk to your agent and your broker to make sure it's, you know, you can do it. Something along the lines of, buyer will only request any repairs that exceed $1,000 or $500. That way you tell the seller, hey, we're not going to be asking you for little tiny things, but we're still doing an inspection to make sure that major components of the house work. Now, if it's anything that costs less than $500 or $1,000, whatever you want to put, we will fix. It doesn't necessarily take away your ability to do an inspection, but it'll help the seller at least realize, hey, these guys aren't really out to try to take more money from us. Regarding the appraisal, of course, some people waiving their appraisal contingency, which for those that don't know, many purchase contracts have this thing called an appraisal contingency that states, hey, we're making you a higher offer, whatever that offer may be is that offer. The appraisal is going to determine what they're going to loan me. If that number is lower than the price, we have the right to renegotiate terms And if you don't want to agree to the lower price, me as the buyer can back out and keep my deposit. That's the one in Arizona, at least. Please confirm with your state how it works. So this is called an appraisal contingency. People are waiving that appraisal contingency and simply saying, and per the contract, if you waive it, you're saying, hey, if the house doesn't appraise, we're still going to give you that original price. Even though they're loaning me less, we'll make up the difference with the down payment. People are waiving that. And if you're not comfortable doing that, I totally get it. But at the same time, there might be some of you that maybe either got some kind of inheritance or they have the extra money lying around. If you have the ability to do that, just try to not go so crazy high. Everyone else that can't do that, here's a little tip. You can do what's called a partial appraisal waiver. Now, be careful. Once again, verify this with your agent and the agent's broker. But what some people are doing is they're saying, hey, we can't come up with the difference if it doesn't appraise, but if it doesn't appraise the list price, we can come up with X amount of dollars over whatever it appraises at. Now, this could be risky because, I had a situation where we're buying a house for $350 and it appraised like at $320, and we only agreed to like a $5,000, appraisal waiver. So that means that we're only going to give them $325, and that's all they're going to get. And the seller in that case was freaking out, like, oh my gosh, that's not going to work, blah, blah, blah. So you have to be careful. A lot of times it doesn't necessarily neglect or remove the contingency waiver, or it removes protections. It just it's a general vague statement. And what this general vague statement does is it gives assurance to the seller that this buyer is legit. They're trying to work with us. Now, problems still come up. Like please don't do this. What I've been doing lately is for my clients that can't afford to waive their appraisal, when the appraisal doesn't meet value, like 20 or 15,000 under, and my client's like, well, crap, now we have to come up with it. And I was like, hold on, call the seller, listing agent. Hey, I know we waived our appraisal waiver contingency, but can your seller still meet us in the middle? And they always blow up. Call me back later. We'll meet you halfway. Does that work? Send over the addendum. We get it. I've done this every time. Now, what happens is people are uncomfortable with tension. So the listing agent's just not going to tell me, you agreed to it. That's too bad. So I'm taking advantage of that, and I'm still asking, and they have to call their seller to ask because they're obligated to do it. And a lot of times the seller goes like, yeah, sure. My point of saying that is not that it's going to happen to you too. My point of saying that is because there's these vague statements in the contract, you're still allowed to negotiate. You're still allowed to have a conversation with these people. Now, understand what you agreed to. Write down in that contract what the worst case scenario that you're comfortable with, and try to maybe not make it be so hard, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to present, can I call him best friend? My YouTube best friend, my YouTube side chick. Kyle Seagraves, Win the House You Love. If you guys watch me, you guys know who they are. I don't have to introduce him. I asked him for a top tip to give to you guys for anyone looking to buy a home right now. And Kyle, if you can hear me, are you there?
Hey, Javier.
Okay, I think I see you. Let me start off by asking you this, Kyle. And it's a little shocking, but I was on the forums the other day and Reddit and whatnot, and there is a really startling rumor that you have some butt implants. And there's some photos and some very interesting angles and whatnot. And I just want to ask you, is this true or are they lying?
You know what? I didn't want to tell people about it, but it's true. And honestly, I think more people should be doing it. It can be so easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of home buying and all the pressure and stress that comes from it. So while you're going through the home buying process, feel free to take a break. Take a weekend where you can relax and unwind. Turn off notifications, delete your home buying apps, tell your realtor, hey, I'll get back to you next Tuesday at noon. Do whatever you need to do to get to a more calm space. When you feel more calm, you're going to make better decisions moving forward instead of everything feeling like it's just rushing by and you're getting caught up in the mess of it. So do what you need to do to be calm, to relax. You're going to feel a lot better emotionally about the process, and you're going to make better decisions moving forward.
Thank you, Kyle. Sorry, I'm still thinking about those butt implants. Now we have Jeb Smith. If you guys don't watch him, he's another real estate content creator. You guys probably do. All of our channels are connected. I asked him the same thing, if he can come on and give some a top tip for you guys. So once again, he's a practicing realtor in California, working a higher price range. So if he's getting offers accepted, anyone can. So Jeb, before we begin, I have to ask you, what do you think about Kyle's new butt implants?
Oh, I think he looks great with that. I went to get one too after seeing him.
So what's your tip for the audience?
You know, in this market, what I'm doing to help my clients' offer stand out, you know, above and beyond offering, you know, a certain price is first I'm starting with shortening the escrow time frame, obviously making sure the lender's on board and able to accommodate that, but shortening the time frame as much as possible. Then I'm going to shorten contingencies as well. I'm going to, you know, take that inspection contingency as low as I can go where it meets my home inspector's time frame to inspect that property. Also make sure the lender can get an appraiser out there in that time as well. And then obviously making sure the lender can get a loan approval in those times. But I'm trying to shorten those time frames as much as possible to help the, you know, the seller feel comfortable with our loan. You know, in some cases we're waiving the appraisal, but I'm not one of those real estate agents that recommends that you waive everything. So I'm trying to keep contingencies in place if the seller's okay with it. But a lot of times in this market, we are waiving the appraisal contingency.
Very well said. So thank you to my two friends for giving their tips. And of course, I hope you guys got some value from this video. But if you are looking for an agent referral, please check out the link below, helmandmoney.com/Javier. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for your time. I hope this video brought you some value. Appreciate you. Have a good one.